gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's November the 9th, 2022. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined once again by our managing editor, Matt Shodell.
Once again, you wouldn't even let me join yesterday. What do you mean once again?
You didn't show up. You left the Zoom.
I showed up. I was there at 5 a.m. There was nobody there.
Can I please open the show and then you can say what you got to say? Let me try this again. Good morning, CaneSport. It's November the 9th, 2022. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined once again by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, presented by LifeWallet, where the time is now to take charge of your personal health. And Matt, before you even get started, Azubi and I were hanging out in the studio waiting for you for literally 45 minutes yesterday morning. You didn't show up, so we did the show without you. Not a big deal. You're back today. Don't sweat it. Nobody missed you. The Matt Shodell fan club was okay.
There's daylight savings time, and there's Gary Ferman insane time. I don't understand it. I was disappointed at the outcome of the Florida State game. I was more disappointed that Gary Ferman just decided to literally remove me from the screen, because once I figured out how to put myself back on the screen when he took me off, apparently that disturbed him so much that he couldn't even let me be on the show at all. So whatever. I mean, we'll even see if you even upload this tomorrow. For all you'll be cutting off
show. You didn't show up.
I showed up.
We couldn't wait any longer. You know, we were tired. We worked like 18 hours the day of the Florida State game. Azubi and I wanted to get some sleep. Okay, so we had to tape the show and get back to bed. That was the bottom line. I'm going
to start doing my own show. That's it. I'm going to do my own show. It'll be all three people can watch it, and like that'll be that. And I can tape it whenever I want. I don't have to wake up. I don't have to wake up to have nobody there. I can just do whatever I want. It'll be perfect.
All right. Can we get to the news of the day? Oh my God, there you are with that white. I don't even remember what it is, but anyway. All right. What is that? Ginger juice? Ginger juice. Yeah. Yep. Okay. All right. Listen. Getting to the news of today. In all seriousness, there is a absolutely amazing story on the website this morning, and Matt wrote it. I got to admit, he really, really, really did a great job on this one, and you guys are going to enjoy reading it. And what it is it's a deep dive into the Miami defense and the run game problems that they really have had all season, and were the genesis of why Florida State came to Hard Rock Stadium Saturday night with a game plan built around pounding the football at Miami, taking very few chances, and feeling like if they did that they would win the game running away, which of course is what they did. And nobody had really done it to that degree of effectiveness. So we were caught a little off guard, but Matt spent a couple days diving into it hard, and you'll see the byproduct of that in his story today. But they ran the counter play, Matt, a basic counter run play, maybe a couple little variations of it, but the same basic play 32 times in that game the other day. That is unbelievable. So I'm gonna give you the floor. I'm not gonna interrupt you. Give us a little synopsis of what you found.
Oh, wait a minute. It's 5:04 a.m. You didn't do the show already? It's not already done? Am I on the show? Can people see me? Hello? Listen, there's a direct correlation between how big Miami's problem is and how long it takes Matt Shodell to write the story. If it takes me 2 days to write a story about the defensive line's problems against the run, it's a problem, man. And the weird thing about it is, when I first started looking into this story, because it was Gary's idea, not my idea to write the story, I didn't think it was going to be a problem. I figured, okay, I'll research it.
It's like when I want to get rid of Matt for a couple of days, I come up with these amazing ideas. Matt, why don't you do this story that I know it's going to take him about
amazing
40 hours to do.
all we have is a 10% of Gary Ferman's ideas that show up on here. It's like those employees. 10% of the employees cause 90% of the problems. Gary gets the right idea about 10% of the time. The other 90% just don't turn into stories. I do my research for 2 days, and I tell Gary, listen, you thought that Tyler Van Dyke was terrible. Well, he's actually good, and we scrapped that idea,
Okay.
Anyway, I took a deep dive into Miami's defensive line, and it was a little weird at first because I started looking. The first thing I did was start looking game by game at just the averages. How many, and this is just for run defense purposes, okay? I wound up looking at some other stuff also, which you can see in the story, but for run defense purposes, I said, let's just start with this. How many yards rushing did Miami give up to each of their opponents this year, and how many yards per carry did Miami give up to each of their opponents this year? And what I came to learn was that while Miami's overall statistics are actually really not bad at all, if you just look at overall numbers against the run in terms of what Miami's allowing opponents to average for the whole year, what Miami's allowing opponents to average yards per carry on the whole year, it's not bad. It's not bad. I don't have it right in front of me. I think it was 3.7 yards a carry and somewhere in the 120, 130 yards a game. But what I found was that Miami's only played 3 teams this year that are Power 5 teams that even have had some measure of above average success running the ball. And against all 3 of those teams, Miami either allowed what that team was averaging or more than what that team was averaging. And all 3 of those teams basically, were able to have success by running the ball. And those teams were North Carolina, which ran for 161 yards against Miami. Okay. Duke, which ran for 200 yards against Miami. And then Florida State, which came in averaging 212 yards and got 229 yards on the ground. So all 3 of those teams, Miami was no better than the average opponent that any of those 3 teams faced in run defense. And I know Miami coaches have sort of hung their hat earlier in the year on our run defense is so great, it's so much better. And it is, because the run defense was awful last year, but it's still nowhere near where it needs to be. And they brought in all these transfers, and it's just not good enough. And I don't know if I made the point enough in the story, because it was more putting up GIFs so you guys can see some of the issues with the counter, some of the effort issues, just some of the one-on-one blocking. Guys just can't get off blocks. You can see them in some of the GIFs that we put up. But to me, this is indicative of something an exercise Gary and I did just for fun yesterday. I don't know if I call it fun, but we went through the whole roster, Gary and I. We spent a while, longer than I usually like to talk to Gary for, on the phone, going player by player, and we would never put this out publicly because we're never going to say publicly, we don't think this guy should be back. That's not right. The coaches will figure it out. The student athlete will figure it out. It's not for us to say this guy's not good enough, but we went through every player in our opinion of who will be back and who will not. And at some point, maybe after it all shakes out, we'll put some sort of analysis up. We're not going to do that now. But the point is, and I'll pull it up now, Gary, just a pure number on the defensive line, because we had a little bit of a disagreement. Let me just open that file real quick here. So as Gary and I went through the defensive line, that's not the right file.
While he's looking, we found 20 guys that we think are almost automatic to be in the transfer portal.
Yeah, that we agreed on. I think I jettisoned a lot more than Gary because
Matt had no trouble getting to 30.
I'm a negative person. So anyway, so on the defensive line, Gary and I agreed only on 2 defensive linemen that we both agreed, okay, these guys shouldn't be back. 2 others that I jettison. Actually, I'm sorry, 3 others that I jettison. Gary says he's 50-50 on. And then another one that I would get rid of. He says, no, he's comes back. So I have the entire defensive line being completely shaken up.
But if Matt has his way, there won't be a team next year. They won't be able to field a starting 22.
The Matt Shodell plan is to not play in 2023. Now, the Matt Shodell plan, okay, you have a huge window of opportunity to rebuild the program into a championship team really, really quickly, because there's unlimited scholarship numbers and transfer portal numbers, which I call free agency because I don't want transfers, okay? I want free agents. I don't want transfers being guys who are second team, third team somewhere else, used to be good recruits, and Miami takes a chance with them. I don't need that. Free agents are guys that are top players who have agents that are reaching out to schools like, hey, how much money this kid getting if he comes to your school? That's what I want. Starting quarterback who's an amazing player here, come to Miami. Star receiver who's amazing playing there, just like the Pittsburgh situation last year, come to Miami. Those are the guys I want, okay? You have unlimited numbers for 2 years. The NCAA has allowed a 2-year unlimited window partially because of the whole COVID thing screwing up all these roster numbers with seniors being able to stay. And those unlimited numbers for the class of the 2023 and the class of the 2024, and that's it. So it's the perfect time to completely gut your roster. You know, I don't care if they leave 5 to 10 spots open out of the 85 to take more 2024 guys. I don't care. But this is the chance to just keep your core of maybe 35. What I had coming back was 35 guys. That's it. 35 guys, which means you're going to wind up taking another 40 to 45 players, new players.
It's called the new rules on steroids. Matt wants to bring in 50 new players.
No, I would bring in 25 to 30 true freshmen, right. And I would bring in 10 free agents. And then the next cycle, do the same thing, depending on how things shake out with the returners, because this team's just not good enough. You have to implode it. And just looking at the strength, the defensive line is the strength of the team right now. What position has performed any better on the entire team than the defensive line? This is the best position on the team, and it's average. I just proved it. You can read the story. It's average. Why do we want to bring back 50 average players on this roster, man?
What about the linebackers? They take their share of responsibility in the run game.
Yeah, but I'm saying the defensive line's the strength, and we're showing literally on tape how the defensive line is just being blown off the ball, how they're not making plays.
Who's the best guy on the defensive line? Let's say who's the best defensive tackle?
I mean, I would have said Leonard Taylor before this last week.
Leonard Taylor is the best defensive tackle. You don't know what you're getting from Leonard Taylor from one week to the next, from one play to the next.
Well, you're keeping. First of all, Leonard Taylor's coming back. He's your future star.
You hope he's your future star, but if he doesn't get more consistent, and he's like here one play, not here another play, here 1 week, not here another week. I mean, he was sensational at Virginia. Different offense, different plays. Maybe he understood his assignments better, whatever. He was below horrible against Florida State. So the point Matt's making, which I'm actually agreeing with here by saying this, is that, well, I mean, like, if that's your best player and you don't know what you're getting from one play to the next play or 1 week to the next week, it's kind of hard to have a great defensive line. It really is. And, go ahead, Matt. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, for sure.
Like,
wait, hold on. Azubi just texted me. Let me just read it real quick. Am I still coming on Good Morning CaneSport at 6 a.m. today? Absolutely, Azubi. Yes. Make sure you log in at 6 a.m. We will be here waiting for you. Okay. So yeah. Anyway, as you go through the story this morning, look, it's a little bit long-winded, just like Gary, because I like to write these stories so that Gary will enjoy them personally, because he is the publisher after all.
I enjoyed this one.
And
there were a couple I was like, ooh, I think we do need to tell everybody that, Kevin Steele is a stand-up as any defensive coordinator you'll ever see. And he takes personal responsibility for every single thing that happens, and he will not throw individual kids under the bus. So you're going to see that a little bit in the story. Not having that perspective, I don't know if you would have normally understood it or not. Hopefully by giving you that perspective, you will understand it better. But, he gets very defensive of his players. He wants those guys to know, I have your back. If you don't play well, it's on me. I'm taking responsibility. So those 32 counter plays the other night, Matt, those are all on Kevin Steele, man.
Well, it's funny you say that because, Kevin Steele takes responsibility, okay? This was Kevin Steele's quote when he was asked before the FSU game about his defense giving up so many big plays, which they had, by the way. So some rookie reporter, I think it was a rookie reporter, asked about all the big plays, why is it happening? And this is Steele's quote. I'm going to read it to everybody. I was waiting to ask you, can I? You want to name those big plays? Because I have the list of them. As many as, because the reporter said as many as you've had. Are you seeing something different than I see? And then Steele asked the poor kid to name the big plays. And the kid's like trying to think and names like 2 plays. And Steele said, what football game did you watch Saturday that didn't have big plays in them?
That's a good point.
Right. So acknowledge you have them. Offenses make big plays. The bottom line is don't let them score. And I'm just being candid. We can't hang a picture like these kids have not gone out there and done some really, really good things. And you just blanket statement that there have been an egregious amount of big plays. We've had our share. That's on me. It's unacceptable. But you can't tell me the number. I can tell you, and it's not a lot. Okay. Then this rookie reporter actually does his homework, comes back to Steele this week and says, hey, Mr. Steele, I have a list of all your big plays. And there was 8 Steele says there was 840 plus. I think it was 13, or whatever it is, 13 big bus. Steele says there was 8, whatever. But Steele basically said that he was happy that this person had done his homework, and yeah, it turns out there were a lot of big plays. You were right, I was wrong. Which harkens back to another reporter who's a friend of mine, who had asked Kevin Steele weeks ago, "Hey, Mr. Steele, can I ask you a crazy question? Is there any chance?" And he's going to hate my impersonation of his voice, but luckily he doesn't watch this show. "Is there any chance that you could get Corey Flagg and Caleb Johnson on the field at the same time together?" To which Mr. Steele responded, "What a stupid question." This is basically, I'm paraphrasing. "What a stupid question, you moron reporter. They play different positions. Why don't we put our quarterback at wide receiver? That would be the same thing." Then you see a week ago, Kevin Steele put them both on the field together with Caleb Johnson at middle and Corey Flagg at outside at will. So you can defend Kevin Steele all you want, Gary. To me, he has not been perfect on defense. He is not some innovative, young defensive genius, okay? He's the guy who's been around the block, knows what everything looks like, tries to teach everybody, is very calm in his demeanor. I love his demeanor as a coach because you want a guy like that who's just calm and sort of understands everything and has seen everything already. But I would argue that he's been underperforming this year, and I would say that he would probably tell you the same thing, that he has not been coaching well this year. The team has not been responding to him on defense. And you can read the story today and clearly see that the strength of this Miami defense did not show up in arguably the most important game of the year. Because look, if Miami fans have one game to pick they're going to win, it's not Clemson, it's not Texas A&M, it's Florida State. And I was going to curse and say blank the bed, but that's what they did, man. And it's on Kevin Steele, quite honestly. It's on Kevin Steele. You can blame the players too, but it's clearly also a coaching issue when this happens game after game after game. And there is some talent on this team, but when James Williams can't do anything, when Leonard Taylor's getting shoved all over the field, there's a disconnect somewhere. And actually, yesterday I asked,
is there a disconnect, or are those guys just not playing real well?
Well, okay, this was an offensive player, but Will Mallory.
Let me know when I'm allowed to speak, because I got a lot.
Yeah, I will let you know. Give me another 25 minutes.
I got so much to say.
So this is the last thing I'm going to say. So Will Mallory was made available to the media, and I phrased this as well as I could because it's not an easy question to ask. But what I basically asked him is, I know you guys work really hard in practice. I lied. No, I said, I know you guys work really hard in practice. I said, but is it just not showing up in games? Because obviously you guys haven't scored a touchdown in 9 quarters. Where's the disconnect? I said, you're an older player. Do you have a sense for where the disconnect is coming from? And he said it's just on the execution of the players. Josh Gaddis's playbook is great. The offense is amazing. And, there is a disconnect on defense. This is what the players are going to say. So they're not going to tell you, oh, yeah, the coaches aren't teaching it well. But you can look literally at the videos that we've put up this morning, and something's not right. Something's not right. Players are out of position to make plays. Players are not being physical enough. Players are being beaten. 2 of these videos, it's just a straight up run, and there's just a huge hole because the defensive tackle got blown out of the way and the end rushed up the field. I mean, it's not okay. The ball's in your court, Mr. Ferman.
Oh, my God. All right. So here's the deal with Kevin Steele, okay? Kevin Steele's been coaching defense for decades, okay? He's a very established defensive coordinator, has had a lot of success in his career.
Mixed success.
Will you let me finish?
Yeah, well, at least tell the truth.
That's what I was just getting ready to say. There have been times in his career where he didn't have as much success. When you coach as long as he has, you're going to have it both ways. Here's the truth of the matter as it pertains to this year. Kevin Steele has been able to install a very small percentage of his defense. Okay. It's his first year in the program, and the football IQ of this football team in general is not great. Okay. That's the truth.
Wow. You're throwing the whole team under the bus.
No,
huh?
I'm not throwing any individuals under the bunch. I'm saying the football IQ of this team is not great. They are having a hard time. Will you let me finish, please?
Because you said the whole IQ of the CaneSport staff.
I said the football.
Good. That's throwing us under the bus. You can't throw these guys under the bus.
I have no problem saying the football IQ of certain members of my staff with the initials MS is not real high. Okay. But right now I'm talking about Kevin Steele, please. All right. So none of this is excuses. I'm not defending him. He doesn't need me to defend him. These are the facts. You judge for yourself. he's installed a very small percentage of his defensive scheme to this year's portfolio, we'll call it, at Miami. And he hasn't been able to expand it because they've been having a hard time just getting these basic concepts executed properly. You've seen all the blown coverages. Matt's got the story this morning talking about all the problems in the run game. So you got problems in the run game. You've given up, like 8 bombs for touchdowns at this point? I mean, I've lost count. You've had busts galore. You had one against Florida State in the first quarter when Al Blades made the wrong decision and left DJ Ivey on that island on the deep post again. Last time it was Cam Kinchins. And you can't do that to DJ Ivey. He can't keep up. He does not have the foot speed. But the point I'm making is there have been breakdowns everywhere on defense. And Kevin Steele has been a stand-up guy and has taken the blame for all of it as opposed to throwing his guys under the bus. But these are the facts. The facts is he has a very small percentage of his defensive package installed. Okay. And he has limitations in terms of game day and what he's calling. Now, when even those concepts are not getting executed properly, you got what you saw against Florida State, and they kept exploiting it. 32 times they ran the same counter run play, and Matt clips some of them. You'll see them in the story and breaks them down for you. But it's a massive problem. And we're not even focused on the defense because of all the problems the offense is having not scored a touchdown in 9 quarters. So this is why this team is struggling to the degree it is this year. This is why it has been worse than any of us expected. This is why the Miami football program is at rock bottom, starting over again, to the point where a coach at Florida State told somebody that we work with very closely before the game, I'll add, that they feel after breaking down Miami and getting ready to play this football game Saturday night, that Miami roster-wise and ability-wise is where Florida State was 3 years ago when Willie Taggart was there, and they were getting their butts kicked, and Willie Taggart turned into Mike Norvell, and now here they are in year 3 of Mike Norvell, still not all the way there for sure. I mean, they could have 5 losses right now. They were lucky to beat LSU. They were lucky to beat Louisville. They had some tight games against NC State, Clemson, and there was one other one in there that is escaping me right now that went against them. And that's how it is. We've talked about this for years. Win some, lose some, win some, lose some. When you're not a team that's totally built, you're going to win some, lose some in this ACC where everybody is kind of like the same. So, so basically to sum it all up, Kevin Steele's not playing with a full deck. Okay. And he's making the best of it. He's doing the best he can. And even with a watered down basic package on defense, that's not getting executed properly either in the run game or the pass game. Okay. He's not going to look real good. Okay. Your defensive coordinator at times is going to look very exposed and not real good. We could talk for hours probably about the opposite on the offensive side of the ball with Josh Gaddis. And that's a bigger dilemma for Mario Cristobal that I'm sure we'll be discussing a lot in the next few weeks, because there's a lot going wrong there. From a personality, chemistry standpoint, there seem to be issues. Certainly from an execution standpoint, there's issues. There's a whole litany of injury issues to where if you're in the Josh Gaddis camp, you can make the argument that how the heck do you judge Josh Gaddis with all these players out and all the things that have been going on offense? It's not really fair. This is the guy that won the Broyles Award last year, top assistant coach in college football. He didn't suddenly forget the coach. And yeah, he's looking horrible here at Miami, but look at everything that's happened, from running backs getting hurt, receivers not showing up to any great degree, tight ends getting hurt, running backs being banged up. I mean, what has gone right on offense for the Miami Hurricanes this year? Not a whole heck of a lot. Jake Garcia getting the opportunity to play and absolutely losing his mind to a degree that we had never even seen before. And I asked Josh Gaddis about that this week, and he said he had never seen it before either. So it's a real complicated situation on this football team. I encourage everybody to read Matt's story this morning on the defense and the defensive line in particular. And I think that you'll really enjoy it. Matt, final thoughts on that story?
Yeah, well, everything you just said is wrong. These guys on the defensive side of the ball have played football all their lives for the most part. They've even in Pop Warner, they're learning the basics of schemes. They've been in high school. They've been in the majority of the starters are returning Miami Hurricanes or were at a major program in a defensive scheme last year. These defensive schemes, they can be complicated, but Kevin Steele knows them all. He knows what will work. You see your players, you know what they can do best, and you teach them. These guys have been here since the coaches have been here since January. Kevin Steele's been here since January. He's had plenty of opportunities to make sure here are some things that we can do well. Here's how you do it. And you practice it and you practice it and you practice it. And that's what coaches do. That's what coaches are there for. For you to throw the players under the bus, they're too dumb to get it. No, man.
I didn't throw any individual under the bus. I said the football IQ of the team in general is not great.
You said they were as dumb as some guy with the initials MS. I don't know who that is. But anyway.
It's a delicate subject, so don't twist my words.
At the end of the day, if the players aren't talented enough, then I get it. You say, listen, these guys just aren't good enough. They're getting beat off blocks. They can't tackle anybody. I get that, okay? But when you see what you see on film, when you read what I wrote, on defense, it's on the coaches, man. At the end of the day, it's on the coaches. Honestly, on both sides of the ball. Ja'Cory Brown can't get the offense lined up. They have to call 2 timeouts. I'm sorry. That's on Josh Gaddis either not knowing that Ja'Cory has not learned how to run an offense yet, or he just wasn't able to teach him for 9 months when he should have been because he's focused too much on Tyler Van Dyke getting every first-team rep. We'll never use Ja'Cory except to run up the middle. We don't need to teach him the offense this year.
How many times in the time that we were allowed to be at practice did we watch Ja'Cory Brown not even able to hit a net with nobody covering anybody?
Oh, here we go. Ja'Cory, the wide receiver, Gary? Yeah. Obviously, Ja'Cory.
Have you seen how dynamic of an athlete he is? I feel even stronger. I feel stronger about it today than I felt about it a few months ago when I said it. Like, this team needed playmakers. I would have built the offense around Ja'Cory Brown, the athlete, quite honestly. And I'm not saying he can't be a quarterback one day. He wasn't going to be a difference-making, season-shaping quarterback this year. He may have to play this, in the next couple of weeks at a default, but that was certainly not the plan.
You probably have not watched any of the modern day NFL and college football amazing quarterbacks because Ja'Cory fits the mold of a quarterback in an amazing quarterback, athletic quarterback, not a wide receiver, Gary. He fits the mold of an amazing quarterback.
He played almost half the game the other day. He went 5 for 9 for 37 yards passing. Okay, 37 yards passing. On a night when Miami only threw for 62 yards. There was a 0 passing game with him in the game, okay?
He threw for more yards than Tyler Van Dyke.
You can't run an offense without any passing game. I mean, I don't understand. Like, people are losing their minds. Like, you're talking about they're arguing about a quarterback that threw for 35 yards. We have watched this for hours on the practice field. He is not there as a major college passer. Now, maybe a couple years from now, he might be. We'll see. We don't know that. But right now, he's not there. And there's a reason why I don't have his snap count in front of me, but why 90% of his snaps were him running into the middle. And I got news for you. Those stats, if he didn't have that one scramble for 18 yards, would have been equally as ugly to the passing stats. I mean, the running stats were 13 carries, 81 yards. 13 carries, 64 yards. But if you take that one 18-yard run out of the equation, you're talking about 12 carries for 60 yards. Basically running up the middle and being a battering ram. He's tough as nails. I mean, he was getting the crap kicked out of him. But that is not a major college offense, okay? We're not going to get off on a tangent here.
No, but you're talking about two different things. You're not even understanding what I said. I'm not saying Ja'Cory's ready to run the offense now. I'm saying his skill set for the future is exactly what you want in a superstar quarterback, not a wide receiver, a quarterback. I know he's not ready now.
If he can develop Tyler Van Dyke level arm talent, yes, absolutely. He's very athletic. I think Jaden Rashada is going to be the quarterback of the future, but because he does have that arm talent. But we'll see. But I don't want to get off on a Ja'Cory tangent here because we were talking about defense. But anyway, make sure you guys take a look at Matt's story. It's really, really good, and it'll give you a lot of insight. All right, there's a few more stories to talk about today, but first, let's hear from our friends at Life Wallet.
I'm Angela Green, and I am Life Wallet.
Since I've had Life Wallet, I have felt more secure to play.
To protect you and your family, download Life Wallet now.
All right, let's talk about a couple recruiting updates that we have on the website today. We have an update on Chamberlain Campbell. I love that name. He's out of St. Petersburg, Lakewood High School. He's picked up a Miami offer. He plans on taking a Miami official visit. Matt, he's a name that's kind of come out of nowhere, but a defensive lineman, man, and you know your first story that we talked about shows how much Miami needs to find just better defensive linemen than what it has on the roster now. Can Chamberlain Campbell be one of those guys?
He's one of these tall, sort of lanky edge rushers. Not a lot of really major programs hot on his trail. So he'll take an official visit to Miami. I think Miami's in a very good spot with him. I am not sure. I think he weighs about 210 pounds. I'm just not sure. You got to put the weight on him. Like Cyrus shows up, and Cyrus Moss, and he's having trouble putting the weight on. This is another similar build where it's a little bit of a project. That's why some of these programs are a little hesitant to really offer him. But look, if it's good enough, for Mario Cristobal, he passes his test, then who am I to argue? I'm just some schmuck. As everybody out there knows.
I'm glad you said it. All right. And we also have a story on the website this morning on Stanquan Clark. He's the Miami Central linebacker that the Hurricanes have liked. They've embraced him. They're trying very hard to recruit him and get him to commit. He's playing a little bit hard to get. And my suggestion, because I know they all watch this show every morning, to all these local guys that are playing hard to get right now for Miami and grinding this thing out to the very end. If you want to be Miami Hurricanes, I would jump in the boat before December gets here.
It's not fair to say he's playing hard to get, because Miami wouldn't take his commitment back when he committed to Louisville.
Okay, but they've taken his commitment for a few months now. If he wants to be a Miami Hurricane, my suggestion would be jump in the boat before December. Once December gets here, these coaches are hitting the road like maniacs, unlike anything you've ever seen before. And the pool is going to get a lot deeper and bigger. Okay. So if you really want to go to Miami, I would commit. And another guy that's falling into that category that now is might be running out of choices is Edwin Joseph, cornerback at Chaminade. Miami just got Cormani McClain. They're on the cusp, I believe, of getting Damari Brown. Edwin Joseph, because he's poo-pooed around here for a few months, might find that he no longer has a committable offer. And all I'm saying is, obviously, the local kids don't have an obligation to go to Miami. They don't. But if they want to go, my suggestion would be get your commitment in here in the next couple weeks, because once December gets here, I know these coaches are going to be going out like crazy, and I don't think they're going to be worried about where they get their talent from. They are going to have a lot of scholarships because of the transfer portal situation, like we talked about, and they are going to be going out hunting for talent, and they're not going to care if it's in Miami or Dallas, Texas. And
well, let's go back first of all, because this goes back to what I think. I think Mario Cristobal overestimated his roster talent, because he's going to have to blow up the roster in some respect, which Gary and I talked about privately yesterday as we discussed. But at the end of the day, he could have given Stanquan Clark a committable offer. Why not, man? Local kid, top program.
They wanted to evaluate him more. That's called good recruiting, Matt. Matt, no, I got to stop you on this one. How many local kids are on this roster right now not meeting the expectations that they came to Miami with? We could name a whole lineup of them. Miami has been too quick, and they haven't evaluated the local football player well enough. This staff is going to try to do better. They need to do better, or this program is going to be stuck in mud like it is right now.
If you would have let me finish, I would have explained, and you'll agree with me. So if you're going to blow up the roster, you have a lot more extra spots than what they thought they were going to have back in September when Stanquan Clark committed, for instance. Now all of a sudden they realize, oh my gosh, we got to jettison a ton of these guys. Hey, Stanquan, we want you again. If they had taken him back then, he would have committed. He'd be on board right now. He was going to commit. You can say no all you want. Edwin Joseph, stop talking for 1 second. Edwin Joseph is going to wind up at Florida State.
Accurately.
Edwin Joseph's going to wind up at Florida State playing against Miami. He's really talented. It's inroads in Miami. You have so many guys you can get rid of. To me, you don't do the normal, okay, we're taking 4 cornerbacks, we're taking 2 linebackers. You don't do that. Take them all, man. You got unlimited numbers. If the guy doesn't work out in your first year, you got the transfer portal. You take another one in the class of 2024. For 2 years, you got an experiment. Take everybody.
How long are you supposed to wait, Matt?
Take everybody.
You have a 3-week window in December to go get your signing class done. How long are you supposed to wait for Edwin Joseph, who's up the street, who can come to campus anytime he wants?
It's called recruiting.
Has been to campus several times. You're calling him on a daily basis, and he's not committing to you. At what point do you say, we got to go get players?
So your whole recruiting philosophy is if they don't commit, drop them. That's insane, bro. I can't even talk to you about that.
There's not too many. Even Ruben Bain is pushing this too far. They're overplaying their hands. Okay,
if
they really want to be, I'm just saying, if they really want to be Miami Hurricanes, this is not the time to play.
Oh my Lord, there's no more such thing as being enamored with your hometown team. Okay, there's NIL to consider. There's coaching staffs to consider.
So they may have to go somewhere else. They may get replaced.
So to me, it doesn't matter if you take 6 cornerbacks when you only wanted 4, because in the situation Miami is now in, and with the transfer portal and with next year still being unlimited, there is no harm in taking a guy for a year, seeing how he develops for a year. Local kid, keep him away from FSU, keep him away from Louisville, grab him. If they don't work out, you get rid of them a year later and you bring a 2024 kid in or a free agent, whatever. That's the new system, Gary. You're living in the past, bro. And that's what I'm afraid Mario Cristobal is living in, because why don't you take Stanquan Clark? Oh, you have such talented linebackers on the roster. What do we need Stanquan Clark for? Are you kidding me?
They wanted to evaluate him as a senior and make an evaluation. Is he good enough? I'll applaud that all day long. Yes. I mean, how many? Don't you wish they had done the same thing with some of the other local players they've signed?
I mean, how many Teddy Bridgewater?
You're throwing everybody in the portal. Go back and look. How many of them are from South Florida? You were throwing 30 plus kids in the portal when we did that exercise yesterday.
Yeah.
How many are from South Florida, Matt? Do the count, and we'll pick this up again tomorrow. Okay, because people got to go to work.
All right, but you act like Miami hasn't made missteps in the past in recruiting. You don't know. These are high school players. You don't know.
It's their job to know. They have a whole staff in there now evaluating kids, including Alonzo Highsmith. It's their job to know and not keep making the same mistakes they've been making.
Great. Well, I'm not saying to take every local kid, by the way, but I am saying if you have a local kid,
you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. You're also knocking them for evaluating Stanquan Clark.
If you let me finish,
they're trying not to do. They're trying not to make mistakes.
Can I finish for a second? If you have a local prospect, and guess what? Other programs also have top evaluators: LSU, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, Louisville, whatever. These 2 prospects we're talking about have major offers from other programs that want them badly. But you're saying,
and they've had
enough for Miami
for months.
because they think maybe they won't develop correctly in their body type.
They have had committable offers for months since September.
Edwin Joseph was a late offer compared to other offers. Stanquan Clark, they said we can't. Stanquan Clark, they told them we can't take you. That's facts. Whatever, man. You can argue with me all you want, Gary. This is just my philosophy.
You can't have it all ways. You can't eliminate recruiting mistakes and not do the proper evaluation. All right, well, we'll continue this debate at a later date for sure. That's going to do it for today for Good Morning CaneSport. We thank you guys so much for starting out your day with us. For Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. We'll see you next time, everybody.